there are sayings like, an ounce of mother wit is better than a pound of clergy. All right? Okay. Now here's one that's interesting. Blacks paint their devils white. Okay. And if you look and you go and you see the new lost found nation of Islam, et cetera, and I once went with a gal pal of mine once to see a black Jesus in a church. Go see, it was over the radio. Go see black Jesus, and I went in there, et cetera, et cetera. But the counter to this is even Jesus didn't tell his mother everything. Right?
That's got to be more recent.
No. You see, I mean, there's no way of knowing how old these things are. In other words, he's collecting them from collectors in these countries. They're not putting them down, and it doesn't matter anyway. In other words, if I hear Jerusalem Slim in the prison, it doesn't mean that it was invented for me. Jerusalem Slim has been in the prisons of America ever since Christians got taught. Dissenting Christians got tossed into prison.
Jerusalem Slim sounds like a blues singer.
All right, well, that's it. In other words, what it is it's translating, Jesus into an American term. There's Philly Slim and New Orleans Slim, and it reduces
Memphis Slim.
Memphis Slim, right? It reduces the Messiah, the King of the Jews, is just another guy. I mean, we had guys in prison. This guy was from Hawaii, so he was Pineapple. Hey, Pineapple, how you doing?
Right.
He's a brother.
Yeah, right? Yeah, I mean, so, everything got reduced down to that, But some of these proverbs are really false gods produce real ills. Yeah.
Well,
Can you argue with that? I mean, his
all
God,
gods,
he ain't real.
All gods
he
produce
ain't
real ills.
That's it. That's what they're saying.
And they're all false.
And they're all, that's what this guy is saying.
But I'm sure whoever came up with that was referring to any other gods but the one that
No, you don't. You see, what I'm saying is that these allow for you can read anything into it.
But there's another point here in that is there has always been criticism, both from without religion and from within. Right. There has always been dissent to religion, even from within the religion.
Exactly. And I'll tell you something. Two things. I'll tell you two things that are very important. All right. Number one, we take advantage of those internal criticisms. Okay. Because number one, if they got some intelligence, some fact in them, we should use them. And number two, if they got any kind of style, like some of these, then it makes our point. Okay. And secondly, we are the end result of the anti-clerical development. In other words, like let me put it this way: there's no God, but there were gods before there were atheists. If you follow me, Well, I mean, in other words, every primitive tribe has got the great god Woohoo and the Wah Wah.
Well, not before there were atheists, because there always were atheists.
No. What I'm saying is that, as far as I can see, I mean, like if you read Henry Louis Morgan, who's the great founder of modern anthropology, etc. I mean, he goes into all the ancient beliefs. Look, the Babylonians, are you ready for this? Babylonian women would be brought to the temple, and then some guy would come and deflower them, a passing stranger, okay?
Mm-hmm. And these were not temple prostitutes?
No, this was the Babylonian religion. This was everybody, okay? Et cetera, et cetera. No. I mean, in other words, let me put it this way. Karl Kautsky, who was a great Marxist and atheist historian who did, when I say a great historian, I mean he did things like the peasant wars in Europe. It's a book on the peasant wars in Germany, which is the study of what each one of the different sects that were warring in the 17th century, what they were fighting about and what class they represented. There was the tabor, the peasants, marching when Adam and Eve were there. Who then was the gentleman? We don't want to hear none of this lords and ladies stuff. And in Britain, you had the levelers, You know, it's I mean, you know, they're part of the Puritan Revolution, but their job in their minds was, you know, we're not just dealing with the one true God, but we're going to take care of a few of these fellows here that are robbing us. Okay, so what you got is this enormous heritage. Okay, and you know, look, you find atheists back in ancient Greece. China was full of atheists. I mean, you know, in other words, Confucianism is not a religion.
Right.
You know, it's a bureaucratic picture of the world, etc.
Well, there are those who say that Buddhism is kind of
well, I mean, let me put it this
non-theistic.
way.
Except that they believe in reincarnation.
Yeah. I mean, let me put it this way.
Supernaturalism to a certain extent.
When I was 7 years old, I read about Buddha for the first time, and he made a big impression on me. You know, because he was asking the right questions. What about death? What about poverty? What about disease, etc., etc. Right? Now, my picture is that. He may have been a bit I mean, he obviously tried, you know, I don't eat on Tuesday and Wednesday and Thursday, you know, that kind of things, but he finally came to the thing, hang loose. You know, that's basically what he's saying. Like the pain, life is pain, the pain comes from attachment, okay, so therefore detach yourself. That's what he said,
Right.
okay?
Okay.
They, meaning all the different sects of Buddhism, made him into a little tin god. Into a big tin god, I should say. I mean,
right.
You know, okay? But none of that reincarnation stuff is really him. He is really trying to say, look, I mean, you know, he starts out, he's like the son of a chief warrior in one of these little republics. And he breaks with the system. He goes out, and I want to know what's going on. All right? Now, as I say, it turned into a religion. All right? Now, what Kautsky pointed out was that in those days it was inevitable that everything got turned into a religion because people did not have our precise awareness of the difference between the objective and the subjective world. For example, you could have a dream and it's the Lord talking to you. All right? Now we understand, I went to bed last night and I had a dream. Whatever it is, it ain't the Lord talking to me. It's me talking to me.
Well, the more advanced this is civilization, the less religious it is.
All right, but what I'm getting at is that for centuries, the fact that they couldn't distinguish between a dream, what goes on in a dream and what goes on in reality is, I would say, is the basis, the internal basis for fantasy theories of, you know, reincarnation. Because you see, in a dream, you can dream about your dead grandmother.
Right.
You see?
And so they were also more susceptible to believing the fantasies of other people too.
Yeah.
Like,
a good story was a true story.
Right.
That's what Kautsky kept quoting that. A good
it
story
was one of the plays, I think, that basically had a list of things, some of which were actually very rational, but others were just that absolute tacit acceptance of. There was a place in the world where people that walked around with no heads. And that was just, you know, it was just
I mean, in other words, I mean, let me put it this way. Even as late as Thomas Jefferson, he has to explain to European scholars and scientists that animals in the Western Hemisphere are not smaller than animals in the Eastern Hemisphere. I mean, you know, what? what you have to do that? You know? And he wasn't sure whether blacks were intellectually the equals of whites.
Right.
Okay? And I'm defending him now. He always said, look, no one has ever really done a study of it, a scientific study of Indians or blacks, etc. I mean, you know, okay? But what I'm getting at is that if you go all the way back, then what you're dealing with is ignorant people who can't read and write, okay, and have dreams. All right? So now I've had dreams, mystical dreams. You know, but I know, you know, and I've studied dream theory and all that kind of stuff. All right. So what I'm saying is that for somebody like Buddha, the thing to do is to learn whatever is intelligent and throw aside the stuff that isn't. Marx put it very beautiful. We are